Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to our other YouTube channel, unless you aren't coming from Scott Mendenhall and Friends YouTube channel and you are clicking here. Well, then, good morning. What a great way to start your day. You can jump in the chat if you're live on Sunday. I'm never alone. There are heaps of people in this very cold location in the tundra of Minnesota. Let us know in the chat what your temperature is. We like to covet your temperature. We like to want your warmth. Not really. I like it cold. But I got my friend Joey on the other side of the studio. Joey, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Scott?
Wonderful, man.
Good.
Oh, you're sitting in the blackness of the day. Because you know why? We forgot to turn on your camera, Joey.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
We could hear you.
That was my bad.
It was
everybody.
your bad?
Yeah, I just had a bad hair day, I think, so
Yeah.
I just didn't want anyone to see
Actually, I was
me.
going to say something
Joey,
about that.
you're turning 25
Yeah.
today? What?
Yeah, did you see that, everyone? Look at
Joey?
that. Can we
No.
go back to the Joey shot?
Tell us it's your birthday.
It's,
You have avocado bandages.
It's my birthday. Yep.
Hey,
I got.
Here's what I love.
Here's
Hold on,
the
Joey.
thing.
Joey.
What?
Here, no, leave those on. Because the best bit is the thumbnail today was the picture of you with your scuba gear on last week.
And you
Yeah,
already know.
I want to go scuba diving.
The
you
thumbnail
you
next
just
week.
created the thumbnail for next Sunday's service right there. Let's just get a
100%.
good shot. Is there anything else you want to hold
20
up so you can be the thumbnail?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hold up the
I got a lot of
dinosaur?
things. You know, I never bring anything from my desk, so.
No, your desk sucked. And
Yeah.
so we needed to help.
That's
Man.
harsh.
That's harsh? What would you, how would you?
Harsh. No, but I got these. It's not my 25th birthday, by the way. I am 29, so I'm older than 25. I got some avocado bandages for when I fall at high speeds on the one wheel,
Do you
since
see
you know
that,
all I
Joey?
do is
Open
win,
them
win,
up like
win.
that. Hold
Do
on,
you
hold on.
see that it's a cat avocado? I mean, it's
They're actual Band-Aids? Like, bust open one of the Band-Aids. Let's see these things.
All right.
Like, Lily, while he does that, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to be here. It's just a good day. I got my golden egg. This is my good luck charm. My dad, I don't know how he would feel about me sharing this, but he has a lack of hair growth and has had it for a very long time. So he used to rub his head and go, "Wish I had a watermelon, wish I had a watermelon," which, like, I guess was like a way of him saying, "I wish my hair will grow."
I've never
I
heard
have
this
to ask
before.
him where that came from.
Yeah, I mean, like, could he have just rubbed his head and wish I had an egg? I wish I had. I mean, what's?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's
the logic.
interesting.
But here we
Okay.
are talking about it today.
Here we are. All right. Hey, so
Hey, wait, how are you today,
I'm
Scott?
doing wonderful. It's a good day. I mean,
People.
yeah,
actually, sorry.
yes, Joey. What?
People are saying it's my birthday in the chat, so I gotta correct everybody. It is not my birthday. This is false information.
Well,
Lily
Joey,
just
it's
brought this for
misleading.
fun.
Hold on.
That's
Hold on.
so
It is
But
not my birthday.
But they would think that you're turning 25 as well. That's
Exactly.
The funny bit.
And I'm like 5 years older, 4 years
That
older.
is so
Almost
funny.
30, Joey.
Almost 30.
He'll be 30 in September.
right?
September.
I'm
Do
getting
you
I'm getting
remember?
old. I'll admit it,
20%
unlike
September.
Scott over there.
What?
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 And I'm just over
I
here
don't
like
even know what you're speaking
living
of.
in my youth. I'm a young gun.
A young gun.
I would, since we're on the topic, I think that everyone would assume that, like, Lily, you probably are older than you are, just because of your maturity level.
I'm confused about what you're saying.
And then Joey, you're just a solid dude. So I don't think people really know your age.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
probably
then when you guys all want to throw my age under the bus, then it makes them question how old
are
is
you
that
saying
guy?
to have people in the chat guess how old we are? Is that what we're doing?
No.
Oh,
No.
I think that'd be fun. Let's do it.
Why?
I
They're
just
gonna
told
say
them.
you're in your 30s, Lily.
And then I'm just gonna have a really bad day because of it, aren't I? That's
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. We don't need to do that. Don't do it.
well, hey, here's the deal though. I have a
What's the deal?
avocado. Avocado.
Dude can't even talk.
No, it's
Avocado.
Joey.
I have a bandage for you, so when you feel hurt,
Joey,
I can put
it's
this on you.
avocado because there's a cat on the Band-Aid.
Who got you those? That's ridiculous.
Look
That's-
at Joey figuring this out right now, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
look at the kitty cat.
I hit just so everyone can feel my pain this morning. Normally I have my laptop set up, but about an hour ago when we got in the studio, I was like, oh yeah, sure, Apple, I'll update all of my things. And it's still updating. So it's a little frustrating today. I'm waiting for it to get past halfway, but it's been at halfway for, some time now. So feel my pain, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just sitting there. Technology not being able to be used. All right, I want to say good morning to everybody in the chat. We're going to do it by name when we get back. I hope you're doing wonderful. We like to have just that opener there, a little banter. Oh, before we get there, moving on to our first video of the morning. Joey, who's on the Wheaties box?
The Wheaties box. My wife is on the Wheaties box. This
Honestly,
is Michaela.
That's amazing. Are you kidding?
I mean, like, I had to bring this to
She's
just
a
show her
beast.
off. So,
But like,
she's with me everywhere I go.
yeah. So
in this
explain
Wheaties
that
box.
to me, though. Like, is that a genuine sold in the supermarket, grocery store across the world, or just in Minnesota?
To be honest, I have no idea. I'm guessing. I mean, she did play for the Golden Gophers, which is pretty big time, but I don't know if she was sold in supermarkets or if it was just like one Wheaties box made for her. I'm not sure. I don't know. You have to ask her.
Okay,
So
I'll have to ask her because it's legit Wheaties
It is
box,
like a
and you have it
legit,
in a
yeah.
plastic container.
Like, it's a sweet
It's sweet.
Wheaties.
I'm impressed, and I do like all the
Like, we
comments
got-
that are alluding to in the chat this morning how old Lily is. She is closer to 30 than she thinks, and closer to 30 than Joey actually is, if truth was to be told.
That's not true. If Joey's glasses, maybe.
Did you everyone sense that that deepness in the tactile
I'm
voice
in my
she had?
mid-20s, and I'll be here for
Mid-20s.
a
Wait,
while.
you're in your late 20s.
No, late 20s is 28 and 29.
No, you are.
Johan said no shot. Lily is in her 30s. I loved that.
I don't even know Lily's age.
She's
Joey.
29 years
I'm
old.
Not 29. I'm 26. Okay.
26. I would say that's
Yeah,
mid.
she's a young gun, like she said.
No,
I'm a
that's
young gun.
ridiculous.
I'm a young gun.
No,
with a
she
quick
she
fuse.
once was. She is getting up there.
Okay, we need to move on.
Okay, we're moving on. Hey, so in the United States, so if you're watching from anywhere else in the world, we have, I don't know, since I was a wee little lad, and based on our conversation we're leaving, that's a long, many years ago. We're almost a century ago. But nonetheless, since I was a little guy, on Monday, we always paid tribute to or honored Martin Luther King. That's happening again here in the States. And what I love about Martin Luther King's story is just how much encouragement I've gotten from all of his speeches. I remember in school having to write papers on it and stuff, and we always want to take a moment to honor those days. We do things for Veterans Day, whatever's on the calendar in the United States, because again, we live in the U.S. We always want to bring what's happening, so sometimes you get updated, oh, that's happening in the news, so you just know what's happening in your world. And so we have a video that is all the speeches that Martin Luther King has said. We have taken pieces of it, had somebody else restate it together. You'll see what we've done with it. But it's all Martin Luther King's words put together in one quick video. And I hope that it would inspire you today, encourage you. On this channel, we always want to provide a way for you to make a move in the direction in a relationship with Jesus. And if you got, if you're like, that's my issue with the world is religion. We're not talking about religion. We're talking about relationship. And if you're like, I don't know who Jesus is, then hang tight. We'll have fun today. We're going to do it in a way different way, and we're going to talk about it. Actually, today's topic is a doozy, so we'll get that started. But here it is, what I was saying, the video with Martin Luther King's word all smashed together, spoken by someone else. You'll see what I mean. Enjoy this, and jump in the chat and say good morning to everybody as you watch this. Enjoy.
Tomorrow is a day to remember that the time is always right to do what is right. To remember that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. To remember that forgiveness is not an occasional act, but a permanent attitude. To remember that faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. To remember that our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about the things that matter. To remember that darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And that hate cannot drive out hate, no, only love can do that. To remember to never succumb to the temptation of bitterness. to remember that out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. To remember that we still have a dream.
Come on, that is pretty powerful when you get to hear all of those different sayings and teachings from Martin Luther King smashed together. Like, before I go run or before I go out to just in general to do life, I should listen to that. It's a good inspirational deal. So in the United States, we honor him tomorrow, and we didn't want to forget to do that here on Unlocked Church's online channel. I am seeing in the chat a lot of good conversations. Some people wishing Joey a happy fake birthday. They're also talking about how old Lily is. And then, Lily, you said Deion Sanders bobblehead. What are you talking about?
I said what did I say?
Because I don't have a Deion Sanders bobblehead on my desk at all. There's no Deion Sanders here. We have...
You mean Adrian Peterson?
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Well, they're very different. Totally different positions in football.
Can I clarify? There's a reason I got that mixed up, and it's not for any other reason other than the fact that I know Scott's a huge Deion Sanders fan, and my knowledge of football players is very low. So that's the only reason I got it mixed up, okay?
Except for...
What, Joey?
Who's you? Never mind.
Stephon Diggs.
Yep, there. She said it herself. I didn't even have to say it.
Yeah, I like Stephon Diggs a lot.
A lot.
He's awesome.
His team won last night.
Go Bills.
They did.
In negative, it felt like -7 when they played. It was a fun game to watch in that I love watching cold games, and it was. If you are watching any of the American football games, let us know who you're picking to go to the Super Bowl. I know what Dan and Jen are going to write in here because they're from Tampa.
Yeah.
They're going to say the
They're gonna say
Buccaneers.
the Bucks. I'd like to see the Chiefs and the Bills go.
Chiefs and the Bills?
Yeah.
Is that possible, Joey? Are they both from AFC? No, one's from AFC, one's from... No, I don't think that's
Joey
possible.
doesn't know.
You can't see me, but I'm like shrugging my shoulders over here.
Well,
Okay.
somebody Google. I don't think that's possible because I think they're from the same division. Or like you have the AFC and NFC, I think, but I don't know. Storylines. All for me right now are storylines. So I think it would be cool to have the storylines of like the Bills and Dallas Cowboys go head to head because the brothers would then guard each other. Stephon Diggs and his brother would be. It would just be a fun story.
Wait, Stephon Diggs has a brother in the NFL?
Yeah,
Yes.
on the Cowboys, and he plays as a cornerback, not the quarterback, but cornerback, and so it'd be cool to watch that. I like that
That would be
storyline.
sweet. Are they both? Is his brother a starter too?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be sweet.
I think the best cornerback on their team. He's really good. So that would be a fun storyline. Nonetheless, I don't want to get into football, but did anyone sort that out? Can they be on the same?
They're both they're both AFC, but one is East and one is West.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They can't. They could play each other before they get to the Super Bowl.
I didn't know that. You are so wise. It's
nope.
probably your age.
Or I just read a lot, Lily. I read a lot. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Joey, who are you picking? Let's see if you...
I'm gonna pick. This is it's a long shot, but the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And
now I'm trying to think of another team because I don't know. I don't know the NFC and AFC. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Are they in the? I don't know.
No. Oh,
No,
yeah,
that
they could
doesn't
go.
work?
They could go. And sorry about that technical difficulty. We have no idea what that was. Sometimes the internet has its own mind. And it could be really, to be honest with you, that we were talking about. That's probably what it is.
The book?
No.
Oh, the NFL.
No, you can't say it.
Ah!
I bet you that's what it is.
What? We can't talk about the NFL.
Oh, you can't say it.
Joey.
I think that's it.
I think it's the Wheaties box on. I think it's the bobbleheads on your
No,
desk.
I bet you it is that. It is a. I've heard that they do that. That said
I
football
believe it.
organization is very tight on that. Okay, nonetheless. But if you missed it, I was talking about a book that you need to pick up and read. Okay, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. So good. And it's a conversation, obviously, between made-up characters, and the little boy becomes friends with a mole and begins to ask the mole a lot of tough questions, like, what's the hardest thing you've ever done? And I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be cool. He's probably going to say, what would you think the mole would answer, Lily? This will be great. What do you think the mole would answer to the boy?
I like getting the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Getting somewhere fast.
Okay, fair enough. How about you, Joey? What would the mole answer? What's the hardest thing he's ever done?
I'm gonna go completely like this is. I know this is like ridiculous because it's not the mole that we're talking about, but I'm gonna say getting squeezed by 2 fingers at the same time.
I don't think you pop moles, Joey.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean pit bulls. That's a Joey moment.
Yeah, but
Joey-
this is about animals.
I know.
This
That's
is-
why I said I'm gonna go off.
He did give that as a disclaimer.
Yeah, I just okay.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, the mole answered, and this would kind of give you insight of how the book goes. The mole answers to ask for help. I was like, that's so good. Like, it's that kind of book. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a quote here that says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" asked the mole, and it says, "Kind," said the boy.
yeah, and we just talked about that the other day.
That's so
like,
cool.
what do you want to be? Okay, all right. So today's topic, where the title of the video that you clicked is faith thinking or believing that the best is yet to come? What is faith? We're going to talk about that today. Is faith a one word answer? Is it one dimensional? Are there multi-functioning pieces of faith today? And maybe you're watching today and you love One Wheels and you just love the bantering and you love to listen to Joey and Lily say things without thinking and it just gets you going on Sundays. Great, but stick around for this conversation. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be fun. It's going to be educational for all of us. We're going to have a discussion about it, and we want you to be in the chat with us having the conversations. And so what we were going to do is we're going to throw it to a video that is just simply called Faith Video. And while you watch it, we would love to hear you write, or we would like to read what you would write in the chat, what you think faith is or is not. So you can take it either way. Faith is blank, faith is not blank. Write that in the chat while you watch this video, and then we'll be back to begin the conversation. Enjoy.
There's this story that my grandpa used to tell that his grandpa told him. I heard it all the time. So my great-great-grandfather, like a century and a half ago, he was a little kid. His parents took him to Niagara Falls to see the French tightrope walker, the great Blondin, walk across the falls on a tightrope. Rope was like 1,000 feet long, 160 feet in the air. Huge crowd gathered, and he did it. Walked across, everybody cheered. Then he did it again with a wheelbarrow full of potatoes. He did that a couple times. Then he stopped and he asked the crowd if they believed that he could walk across with a person in the wheelbarrow. And they all said, "We believe." Then he asked for a volunteer. Now, supposedly, my great-great-grandfather's hand shot up and his voice belted out, me, pick me." His parents hushed him up and everybody let out a nervous laugh. And the faith of a child sort of diffused the situation. Sort of, I guess. Then Blondin went on with the show. He like cooked an egg out there over the falls. Something ridiculous. What was that faith? I don't know. Because cigarette smoking causes cancer? My grandfather's body's 6 feet underground right now. That's my wheelbarrow full of potatoes. Do I believe cigarette smoking might give me cancer? Sure, I believe it. Like the devil believes in God. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So what's not faith? There's another verse in the Bible that says faith without works is dead. In other words, if I believe something but I don't take any action based on that belief, that's dead faith. So faith without works, belief that's not tied to action, is dead faith. Faith without works is dead. The more I think about it, I'd like to rephrase that a bit. I'd like to say faith without works is belief. Faith without works is belief. I believe smoking cigarettes might give me cancer. But if I had faith, I'd quit.
Okay, that video packs so much into it. It really sets up a tension, I think. When I say a tension, I mean like this, like you can feel like, is that what faith is? What is faith? And you just like, it feels like you just can feel pulling in two different directions. That's what I love about that, is it sets this up where this guy who inevitably starts lighting a cigarette going, okay, my sack of potatoes, a wheelbarrow of potatoes, is I have this information that my grandpa died of lung cancer from cigarettes, so they say. And I just think it's a great setup. My computer finally got working, and so I want to read a couple comments after Lily kind of just walks us through. She really loved that video. Like, didn't you?
I did. I do really enjoy it. I do.
But why?
Well, I think it's cool how he differentiates the fact that he can live just believing the simple fact that cigarettes could cause cancer, but that wouldn't really change whether or not he smokes. And what he's saying is that if he had faith that smoking cigarettes would give him cancer, he would quit. And the difference is the action of the faith that would be like it would literally come from the faith he had. He would quit. And I think it's powerful, because I think we can apply that to a lot of things in our own lives.
I'm reading the comments, and one common theme in the comments today is faith is in God, or trust in God. Yeah. So is faith just a religious thing, or is it beyond that? Joey, we're going to throw that question to you. And when we ask these questions, we want to hear you answer the questions in the chat as well. It's not just the three of us. Like, when I ask that question, do you think faith is just solely to religion, or is it beyond that? Or is that just what faith is, and that's where we're going to run with it today? Or are there multiple sides of faith? What do you think, Joe?
Well, I think when you say religion, I think faith has to do with a relationship with God and a commitment. I like what Johan said, a commitment and trusting fully in God. So if you're considering that religion, then I guess yes, but I think it's in a relationship with God and trusting fully over everything that God has you, and trusting that. And so I guess it depends what you're saying.
So it depends. Like, are you saying what?
I guess I'm like religion. I don't know if just having a relationship with Jesus is religion, or if that's.
So okay. A lot of people are saying this is like, does it require faith to follow Jesus? Is this something someone must possess before they can become a follower of Jesus? Joey, what do you think?
Wait, say that again.
Do you think that to become a follower of Jesus, you have to have faith? Is that a necessary ingredient, if I can say it like that, to become a follower of Jesus?
No, I think for the first step is believing.
But is believing not is that not?
No,
off faith?
No, I think the video stated that really clearly.
I think
that it's different.
I think believing's in the head, faith's in the heart. And so until you, I guess, truly believe and truly trust in your heart, then your actions and your steps are going to be different, because you can know all you want from the Bible and about God, and you might believe parts of it, but until you like truly believe, and I think that's something I've always struggled with, is like, do I really believe? If it's in my heart, then my actions are going to change.
Okay, so you quickly said no to, you don't need faith to follow Jesus, to enter in a relationship. That's not part of that part.
I don't think it's required. I think that it will come if it's something that you're serious about in starting a relationship with Jesus. And there will be times when faith is required, like when life gets hard and you have to trust in his promises. But I want to go back to your question earlier, like, are there different assets of faith? Can it exist outside of religion? And I think it can. I think it can even exist in our own relationships. It's going on faith that they're going to do what they said they would do. You know, we even apply faith to if you live in America, to our government system, that they're going to say they're doing what they're going to do, or they're going to, even with what's recently put out with the at-home test kits being reimbursed, that's something that's being promised. And then I think inevitably, and maybe even subconsciously, we practice faith that's going to happen, right? So I do think that there are different assets to faith as well.
Okay. I agree with you. I think that there are many sides of faith. I do like what Johan wrote right here. Faith comes with the relationship. So, like, I remember growing up in church and things, and people would say, you just have to have faith. You just need more faith. Like, that was always like, oh man, if I didn't see something happen, I just need to have faith. Just get more faith. And it's like, right, that's my question. How do I get more of that? Is this something you just sit there and just squeeze your eyes really tightly and all of a sudden you just magically get more faith? And then the reason I even asked the question, does it require faith to follow Jesus at the beginning? The initial part of the following Jesus is facts. Like, there's so many facts about who Jesus is and what he did that it is not about faith until here's where the scripture was read earlier in that video, and maybe you wrote it down already, Lil. I don't know. Do you have it in your notes where it talks about this is faith, what we hope for?
Yeah.
We don't need faith to follow Jesus because there's so many things like this. Here's the facts about Jesus. We know Jesus was a real man. How do I know that? That's not faith. That's not me. I hope that's true. That is truth because we have history books that talk about a man named Jesus. Multiple religions talk about a man named Jesus. Some refer to him as a great leader. They don't refer to him as the Messiah. So then there we go. We got books and that have confirmed Jesus existed. Now, moving on to, okay, how about Jesus, who claimed to be God's one and only son, who was sent on this earth to die on a cross for our sins? Okay, now how do we prove that? Where's the facts on that? Well, people saw Jesus get crucified, get put into a grave, so he's dead, it's over. And then over 500 people saw him walking the earth 3 days later before he went to heaven. So now all of a sudden we have history books that record Jesus. There's facts one. Facts number two is eyewitness accounts of 500 plus people that talk about Jesus, this man who died on a cross, rose again, came back to life, and then went to heaven. And then because of those three things, if that's not enough to convince you, to give you facts, then we have where Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, who are eyewitnesses to what Jesus did while on this earth, records everything he said and did. And because Jesus did what he said he was going to do, which die on a cross and come back to life, all of a sudden, everything I read about him in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is validated. So it doesn't require me to have faith that I believe in Jesus. I know Jesus walked this earth. I know he was a great man, a great leader, and the Messiah, and the Lord. I know that. So therefore, it's not faith that is required. It is facts. And if somebody didn't give you the facts about Jesus and they try to scare you into a relationship with Jesus, is like, oh, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, you're going to go to hell. That's scary stuff. That's not a relationship. That's manipulation, and that's not what Jesus was after. Jesus wants to be in a relationship with us. Why? Because it puts us back in right standing with God. We don't have enough time to go through all of those things. We can talk about that later if you want. But faith comes in right in that moment. After we have the facts, we say, I have collected enough data to believe Jesus is who he said he is. Now, my faith is Jesus is going to do the things he's promised he said he was going to do. And that's what I think is it author John writes. Who wrote that verse, Lil?
It's in Hebrews.
Oh, Hebrews, sorry.
Yeah, which we don't fully know who wrote that, but it is Hebrews 11:1. It's known widely as the faith chapter if you want to pick up a Bible sometime and read it. But it's a very first verse, and the author's saying, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And I love the Martin Luther King video, and it jumps right out at me because we're talking about faith today. But Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. And it's essentially, quoting that verse, what we do not see. It's hard. I think faith is hard sometimes because you can't see. You can't see what you're believing, what you're trusting in. And yet faith requires action to keep going, to take that step. So it's a tough concept.
It is, but on the other side, Lil, you say it's a tough concept, but if we can go to the wide shot with the both of us, there you go. Lil, I don't think it's as tough as we make it, because when you read, faith is confidence in what we hope for. So what I'm hoping for, like, my confidence sits in there. So it's like my confidence and your confidence in these stools that a good friend of ours made, right?
Yeah.
It's going to hold us up.
Yeah, that's what Chris said in the chat.
That we're not going to fall over. So this is we hope that it's not going to fall over. Our confidence, what does the confidence make us do? Sit in the chair or stool and trust it. Take action.
So then why do we think it's such a hard topic to grasp, or why is there such stumbling blocks when it comes to faith?
Because I really, I said this because I think people are always saying that to have faith or have a relationship with Jesus starts with faith. You just have to believe that there's this Messiah that walked this earth with no facts. And now it's like, okay, it's like, if you don't have facts, it's like believing that there's really Superman running around or Spider-Man running around. It's like if somebody told you, oh yeah, there's this guy that can fly, right? All of a sudden it's like, do we have facts or no? Just believe it, right? That's what it feels like when it comes to Jesus. Is that it has to be this just believe in Jesus or God, and it's like no, here's the facts. Now on the other side of this, on the other side of those facts, and you're entering in a relationship now. It's confidence in what Jesus said he was going to do. So what would increase our faith is to know the promises Jesus has for us. That's the beauty that would increase our faith, is the promises Jesus has for us. Then our confidence goes up, just as the Hebrew author writes in Hebrews 11, chapter 1, that our faith is confidence in what we hope for. What are we hoping for? You have to have a promise to have hope. You have to, like these stools again, there's a promise. We just don't say it like this, but the promise is that these stools are going to hold us, okay? It's sold to you as it's going to hold you up. So that's the hope, the insurance, and for the insurance about what we do not see. So now we got to look for the things Jesus speaks for. And so I think that is what faith is in this side of I'm going to use the word mystical, and a lot of followers of Jesus hate when I do that because I'm not trying to make Jesus magical. But it's just the best way in my mind. It's like this supernatural, I guess would be another way, but that just doesn't, but it just feels like but those are the things that you're trying to go, no, my hope is Jesus is going to say what he's going to do. So we're going to look up some of his promises to say these are the things that should increase our faith into God and through Jesus. And before we do that, I also want to make point. Well, actually, Joey, do you have anything else to add before we kind of shift a little bit here?
I mean, I this whole time, what I've been thinking is you can learn a lot about faith from the stories in the Bible and from different people. But the whole time I'm thinking right now is like, you can also learn from it from current people that are living today who have faith, and you can see it play out in their lives. And I mean, a story that I think about faith is Scott over there. You see him every Sunday, and that man, him and his family had faith. If you did not know, they used to be youth pastors, like 6-7 years ago or something like that, in a big church where they were comfortable and they, were very successful at this church, and they felt a calling, and Scott had faith to move his family all the way to Minnesota, where he knew nobody, and where like church planting is difficult, and he had faith to go all the way to Minnesota to start a church in Minnesota. not knowing a soul. And he had the confidence and the trust in God that he had him in this place for a reason. And I wouldn't know Scott today probably if it wasn't for that. People that are in the studio, people that are you online, I don't know if he'd be doing online in Florida. Maybe he would, but who knows? But that man has faith, and I can learn from him what faith looks like, trusting and believing that God is going to provide a way and that you can trust in him. So that's
I think that's really good. And you start to begin to take us on a little shift there that now this is another piece of faith, that it's not just this faith in God gonna do the promises he has in scriptures. We're gonna read those still. This now is the faith that God can move people, and that I'm going to take steps into the unknown, like he says, moving here. And we all have stories of those moments of we feel God's calling us. But here, it's a thing I learned from a great story from the Old Testament. And what I love about the Old Testament is it's so many great stories that illustrate what Jesus teaches in the New Testament. It's like you go see, it's like, oh, look, this is a godly trait. And so you have Jonathan and his armor bearer. You need, like, seriously, if you like war, you like drama, you just go read 1st and 2nd Samuel, and you're going to get your fill of it in this. It's in the Old Testament, the Jewish scriptures. It's such a good read. But Jonathan and his armor bearer have the only sword in the entire Israelite army. The rest of the army have, like, farming tools, shovels, maybe an axe, but that's what rakes. They're showing up to a war against these Philistines, who the Philistines are up at top of a mountain, and the Israelite army, it's at the bottom of the mountain here. And I should have wrote it down so I could give you the reference, but the story is what gives me the confidence of what we just were speaking in. The author of Hebrews chapter 11. I'm pointing to my notes over here. So Jonathan goes to his army going, hey, I got this wild idea. Let's go take on the Philistine army, you and me, one sword, big army of giants. Let's go. They're encamped up there. And his armor bearer is like, okay, I'm with you, heart and soul, which is a whole cool lesson on friends. They go, and Jonathan then says, here's how we'll know if God's delivering them into our hands. If the Philistine army says, hey, come up to us, we know God's saying, go for it. I'm behind you. Jonathan goes, if they say, stay down there, we're going to come down to you, Jonathan says, we've screwed up. We're in big trouble. God is not with us, and this might be the end of our day. And he rounds this whole thing out. And this is a great statement of faith. Perhaps God will act on our behalf. Perhaps God will act on our behalf. He doesn't know if God's going to act on his behalf. He has no inkling that God's going to do something. Now, we do as a reader because we're reading it and we're going to find inspiration from it because God shows up. It's a wild story. But he's moving with faith. Faith is the can of Red Bull, if you will, the energy to move people to do some of the coolest things that inspire other people, that are being led by God, but still trying to figure it out. When we're moving from Florida to here, we're following God, but we're also going, well, perhaps God will show up, but if he doesn't, what do? We took a step of faith. We stepped out and started something new. And the author of Zechariah writes that God delights in new beginnings. Okay, so he likes when we take those steps of faith. And if that's all God wanted to see in us, then that's great. If God steps in and goes, I'm going to meet you where you are, boom, faith explodes. Great story. People are really inspired. So I know we're giving a lot of stories here, and we're really talking around faith, because faith isn't just, it's not faith in who Jesus is. It's faith in what that Jesus is going to do what he said he's going to do. That's faith. And faith then has actions. I always have this equation that for myself, that it's belief to action gives results. Lily, break that down when I say that all the time. Actions or belief to actions to results. What am I saying?
I think it's super cool because you can apply that anywhere, right? When it comes to your relationship with Jesus, when it comes to things you're working on in the new year. If you believe it, well, that belief should lead to action. That's what many of you are putting in the chat regarding faith. It requires action. So if you believe it plus action, you will get results. You will get you will get results. And I think we get greedy for results. You know, I think if I believe one time and I put action to it one time, I should get results, right? And that's kind of how I'm wired. But I think it's constant belief plus constant action. Plus, I think I'll even add one, praying for the eyes to see those results, because you often think they're going to come one way and they come another. But no matter what, that equation, it works every time, and you can apply it to even something like exercise. If you believe that you're capable of running a marathon this year, plus the action of training, likely, hopefully, you could run a marathon. I know there's a lot of factors there. So
You've run a marathon, Joey.
I have.
You're the only one that still is yet to run a marathon.
Yeah, it's true.
Is,
It's true.
is it on your list yet?
I feel like it's always been on my list. I mean, yes. Before I die, I think I need to run a marathon.
If you run,
I'll run a marathon with you, Joey.
if you run a
I'm sure you
marathon
would.
this year, I'll make sure your face gets on a Wheaties box.
Come on. That's awesome.
that
do
doesn't
it.
really.
Then you could have a Wheaties box with you and your
and
wife.
All right. Well,
Okay.
we'll see.
He's like, I know not to commit to things on
Yeah,
camera.
yeah.
Exactly. Committed
Okay,
to way
okay.
too many
I wrote
things.
it. I wrote this in my notes. It's a little wordy, but hey, see if you get it. Faith happens when hope so moves to confidence that something will be so. Faith happens when hope so moves to confidence that something will be so.
Okay, I got this.
Okay,
Okay.
Lily just had an aha moment.
No,
What?
I mean, it's just applicable. Okay, so Scott, I'm just going to share what's going on in your life right now. And Mary, I know you're probably watching. Scott's mom dealing with heart issues right now, in and out of the hospital. It's been tough. And I think if I were to ask Scott, what are your hopes in all of this that comes? I hope that my mom will get better. I hope so.
Yes.
But I think what you're saying in that is faith is, what was it?
Faith happens when hope so moves to
Becomes-
confidence that something will be so.
It will be so. So expressing faith in regarding your situation with your mom, it's a confidence of it will be so that my mom blank. And I think what you said earlier, I know, God, I know you can, but will you? It's having the confidence, like, I know so. I think of it with my family, parts of my family who don't know Jesus. I know they will know him someday. I know I am trusting and believing big that God will reveal himself to my family who don't know Jesus. But it's like behind closed doors, I'm like, God, I know you can reveal yourself to my brother, my dad, my mom, but will you? So I think it's like a dance of both.
Yeah, I think faith happens when hope so moves to confidence that something will be so. And the word something isn't defined by me or the individual, right? That's the danger, is like if we get so confident that this will be so just like this, and then God has a different plan, we get disappointed. Oh, God isn't a loving God and all this. But no. Look, he's in charge. Like our faith is, and Lily said it, and she snuck it a little ahead on my notes because we hadn't said it yet.
Ooh.
But
bad.
really the working definition we use around here is that we know God can, but will he? That's faith. That's the faith we see that moves things with Jesus, is the faith that comes to Jesus and says, I know you can. I know you can heal my daughter. The centurion soldier comes to, the man with leprosy comes to Jesus. And will you? He says, will you?
Yeah.
Giving a reference, I know you can, but will you? And that's how we should pray on all kinds of things, is God, this is what I want. Will you do it, though? I know you can. Like the confidence I have in God that he can do anything all day long. It won't, I know he can, because I read through what the Bible says and I believe it, but now I don't know all the details of God's will. And so now but will you? God, I know you can. I know you can, but will you? That's a great way for us to always be praying for those things in our lives, for people to get healthy, or help with resources. You just go down, whatever we're praying for, God, I know you can, but will you? We don't get so set on that something is defined by you. Let God, there be room for God to do what he wants to do. So here are some of the promises, and I got two promises that for us should increase. These are the things we hope for. This is what the author in Hebrews is writing. So here we go. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Matthew is a eyewitness account to what Jesus was doing and saying, and he writes these down. Here we go. These are Jesus' words. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your soul. There's a promise. That's a godly promise right there. That if you come and you're tired, worn out, weary, you're carrying burdens that you're not meant to actually carry. You know when you have those anxiety attacks or panic attacks? That's because you're carrying stuff that your body's not actually supposed to be carrying. And Jesus is like, no, see, I want to take that stuff off your shoulders. Yeah. Those are indicators. Those are like the panic attacks and a lot of those things are like those. I'm not calling anyone an idiot, but that's what I call these idiot lights on our cars, you know? Like you have a bunch on in your car right now.
Oh, come on.
You do. I started it the other day. And
okay,
it's like,
but let me just say, I know the ones that are saying, Lily, attend to me right now, and the ones that are like, we can deal with this later. Future Lily's got this.
Okay, we'll be towing her soon. But nonetheless, you're right. You all know exactly. You get these idiot lights that come on the dash, bing, 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 and saying, hey, something's not right with the car. Go get it fixed. If you don't get it fixed, long-term damage could be done. When we have those panic attacks, anxiety attacks, when we're super stressed, whatever your things are, those are the body saying, what you are doing, we are not designed to be doing. Yeah. And this is where Jesus comes and says, hey, when you feel like that, come to me. Now, someone's like, what does that mean? That means we like, maybe you need to journal and write it down so it's coming out of you. It's a prayer. It's a conversation with God. And then he says, take on my yoke. So what's his yoke is what you put on cattle and oxen.
To move them.
To get them to do work and you, it's a wooden thing. Nonetheless, look it up. You're online right now. Google it.
Google it.
We have somebody in the studio today from Tennessee. We should just have them come here and explain it, but we won't.
Yeah, he's visiting. Let's be nice.
Yeah, we don't want to put him on the spot. But I'm sure he's familiar with what a yoke is because I just think of Tennessee. They got to have a lot of animals with yokes on them, don't you think?
That
Can I get a nod or no? I just get smiles. No, he says no.
I'm
we're
a
way
city
off.
Girl. I don't know anything about that.
Way off, man. I thought I was nailing it. No. Okay, so actually, what do you call someone from Tennessee? You have Minnesotan?
A Southern boy.
No, you have Floridians.
Southern boy.
Tennessee. Just what do we got?
What do we call you? Tennesseans? He said yes, Tennesseans.
Oh,
he just gave a nod. Okay. Tennesseans. I don't know if that's real.
I'm from Tennessee.
Is that your best?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Okay. So Jesus says, "Take on my yoke," and then he says, "Here's the promise: and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest." When you take on His things, you'll find rest. That's the promise. So that's the confidence when I come to Him and I give all my burdens and I will find rest. Who doesn't want rest, right? Okay, how about abundant life? You want that, right? There's a promise to this, and we read it, I think, last week. John 10:10, such a good verse. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus saying this, I have come to give that you may have life and have it to the full. Who doesn't want life and a lot of it? Well, there's a promise that that's faith, that Jesus is going to do what He said He's doing right here. It's like, okay, now as I in a relationship with you, I'm gonna have life to the full. Promise. That's my confidence, and there's my faith lies. And therefore, I know what my belief is in. It's not in my strength, it's in Jesus' strength. Right, Lil? Is that making sense?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this?
So good. Actually, when you had mentioned earlier, we were going to talk about promises from Jesus, things that we can like ground our faith in. Like, Jesus has promised me this. I went in and did some research just because I was curious, and I found those two verses as well as some others. And one that I promises that I love from Jesus are things He calls us, titles He gives us that we can wash away everything we've called ourselves in the past and know, like in John 15:15, He calls me friend. So I am never alone. I will never be alone. And I know that because He calls me His friend. He calls me His own. And it's just comforting. It's like, even though I feel alone right now, I know what Jesus says, and my confidence can be placed in His words. In John 15:15, an eyewitness account to Jesus' life, He heard Him say, he calls us friend, and I am included in that, and you are as well. So I think Jesus' promises are big, and there's so many of them, even in what he calls us. So it's important to know what those things are, to have foundation for our faith to stand on when life gets rocky.
Yeah, that's what you need. Is you need go-to verses. Go-to. Even when I say, like, sometimes I catch myself when I say verses or scriptures. To unchurched, they're going to roll their eyes because then they're going to try to combat, scriptures aren't da-da-da-da. Let's just, for argument's sake, that you agree with us that scriptures are God-breathed and that we don't get caught up in our humanness and go, well, how does that work? When humans wrote it, couldn't they put their little personalities in there? The answer is yes. Yes, they probably did, and that doesn't bother me because my relationship with Jesus is not because the Bible says so. Remember, Joey, do you know that the song that says, Jesus loves me, this I know?
Yeah.
What's the next line?
The Bible tells me so.
Yeah. So that's how we are raised in church. And this is gonna this some people aren't gonna enjoy this very much because I'm about to ruin a child song for you. It's Jesus loves me, this I know, because the Bible tells me so. No, that's not why. It's because Jesus gave his life for us. And there's followers of Jesus that didn't have the Bible, right? That know that he loves them so. So it's not the Bible says so. It is that we have facts that Jesus died on a cross. The Bible is like the birth certificate to Jesus. I'm not alive today because of my birth certificate. It is only recording the events that happened the day I was born. That is the Bible. It recorded the events of a man that was already alive.
And if anyone ever came to me and was like, I don't believe Scott's real, he doesn't exist, he's just in your videos, he's actually an enigma because he always wins one-wheel races and he wins everything. Well, I would be like, well, let me get you some proof. And I'd get you his birth certificate. But how redundant is that? Like, when do we ever actually do something like that? And so I think I just love that example because if we only treated Jesus the same way, if we only lived with such confidence that I know he existed, I know he walked the earth, I know he made people his friends so that they could go and tell other people, so they could go and tell other people so that you could be told today. And it just be like, okay, great, what's next? Instead we just get so like wrapped up in questioning and then we miss out on what Jesus has for us in relationship with him. And there's so much beauty in that. There's so much joy and full life, like John 10:10 says, but we miss out on it because we question. And if I sat here and questioned Scott all the time, then I'd be missing out on the fun and on the relationship and on often what you all comment. You guys look like you have so much fun. You have such great relationships. Well, that's because I'm believing that they're real and that I'm living in them. I'm being present in them. So if only we could do that in our relationship with Jesus, what could change?
And I do think we want to make sure we clarify this because Lily's talking about question. It's great to question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think early on when I was in church, man, people would, don't ask that question. Don't ask that question. Don't. One of the most popular questions that most people, why do bad things happen to good people? And why do bad people succeed? And all these things. And it's like, don't ask that question because sometimes you're not going to like the answer. And it's like, that would diminish your faith in God. And it's like, no. I believe when we go and do our research, like, not a research to get the answer you want, right? That's where we are in the world today. That most people are just going to get research to back up an already formed idea. It can't be that way. It needs to be entering in the conversation of like, I actually don't know this answer. I'm going to do my research. And out of the research, I'm going to find my answer. Don't start with your answer and then just go find. It's so dangerous, especially when we do that with the scriptures or Bible stuff, because then you can take things out of context to make it whatever you really kind of think it would be, and then it's just, don't get me started. But don't do that. Don't start with your answer. It's great to question God. I think that's a healthy relationship. My kids, when they do it respectfully, I have 8 children, and when they question something I'm doing, and Legend, he's our oldest, he's 14, so he's trying to figure this out, because sometimes he can be really disrespectful in his question, and then it gets him into trouble. But when he asks the same question in a respectful way, he gets the answer. But when he comes in a disrespectful way to me or any adult, nope, man, that's a big issue around in my house. Is like, we have I think it's 3 or 4 Ds. Don't be dishonoring, disloyal, disrespectful, and whatever the fourth one is. I forget.
Disobedient.
Disobedient. Did I ever say that?
No, I don't.
No,
think
I
you did.
have
just
one of my
love it.
daughters in here. She goes, no, you didn't. She knows. They know. Those are the 4 principles. But the rule number 1 in the house is not fair. Okay, there you go. That's all the parenting advice I got. But when you're disrespectful, that's when you have me stepping and go, no, don't be disrespectful. Because when we talk with God, we want to be able to ask questions. We want to be doing it in an honoring way, not just because it's God, but because that's the right way. That's what love requires us to do.
Good.
And so ask questions. Ask questions in the chat. We might not be able to answer them all today, but we will begin to form our topics based on your questions. I'm loving the chat today. Just keep throwing in your questions and your thoughts today. We want it to be interactive because it's a big thing. So if we had to break down faith in 3 pieces, how would we do that, guys? And maybe online you can help us today. Or is it we're just going to leave it faith is faith? But can we say there's 3, like faith is the big, and then A, B, and C are the next faith parts underneath it? What do you think, Joy? Can we? I think we've
3.
Yeah, or 2.
specific?
It doesn't need to be 3, but I think we've gotten to the point where we all agree that faith, there's many different types of faith, right?
Right.
So what are those? What does one of them look like?
I think, I don't know.
It's okay. You don't need to know.
I don't know, but I do have something I want to say.
Okay, then say that.
Okay. So since it is Martin Luther King Jr.'s day tomorrow, he says faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. And then I also have a verse that I wanted to talk about, that like praying. A lot of times we doubt God. We doubt how big God is and the prayers that he can answer them, and that even when they seem impossible, but our God is big. And this might be like one of those verses where people roll their eyes, kind of like Scott was saying earlier. But it says in Mark chapter 11, verses 22 through 24, it says, "And Jesus answered them, 'Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours.'" And so the biggest takeaway I think right there is not doubting our God, knowing that he can do big things in your life. And that's, I think, a step like having faith, believing, knowing, and trusting that God can do it. Will he?
Yeah, I think, again, even as you're saying that, maybe faith, it is played out in many different ways. It's not just in a prayer closet of prayers. God, will you answer this? There is movement to faith.
Yeah, it's good.
Because there are prayers like I'm praying for my mom, but I don't have movement in that. Like there's nothing I actually can do.
Yeah.
Right? So it is prayer. It's me relying on God. I know you can, but will you? But when God tells me to have a conversation with somebody, now I have to move. Or God says, fix this relationship. Now I have to have faith that was God and move in the direction. So there's my action piece.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the issue with faith, is that there's not one way you do faith.
Yeah.
There's multiple ways you do faith. Action is required, but sometimes the action is just prayer. And I say just like that's like real little, but that's really big.
But there's action there too, because it's trust. Like if you're just praying, if all you can do right now is pray for your mom in what's going on, the action is trust. And you all started with that today. Almost everyone's definition in the chat included the word trust. And I think that's a huge part of it. It just is. How can you say, I know you can, but will you, without trust? The whole I know you can thing is not even just trust. It's confidence. It's confidence. I know you can. So I think no matter what, there's action in faith.
And I want to make sure as well, we're not coming along saying if God does the opposite, or maybe he doesn't do anything and allows present circumstances to keep moving in a direction that you're not asking for. We've got to go. We're not saying that you just like, okay, God, we're okay. It's okay to be sad and bummed when the things you're praying for aren't happening. It's okay to have emotions to it. It's relationships we're talking about here. It's not God just up in heaven and no, a dictatorship. It's a relationship. So therefore, when I am frustrated, with respect, I can share that with God. Like, hey, man, give me eyes to see what you're actually up to, because right now I'm super confused because it doesn't make sense. Why would you allow these events to transpire when this is what I really... And then it's what Jesus writes in the Sermon on the Mount, or he says in the Sermon on the Mount. He goes, the meek shall inherit the earth. Meek is a term we don't use at all in our terminology, but meek is knowing I am not the main character of the story. That's what being meek is. Like, I'm the supporting cast. No one wants to hear that. We are the main character in all of our stories, but Jesus is really the main character in all of culture, all of life, centuries before and to still go. No matter how bad you think this word, Jesus is the main character. And so when things don't go the way we're asking or want, that's because Jesus is the main character, and there's a story being told about Jesus being the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Now, as we wrap this up, I wrote this in my notes. Let me bring this over here, my iPad, really quick. I wrote it like the faith of the Old Testament saints looked forward to a promise salvation, whereas the faith of those after Christ look back to the fulfillment of the promise. Okay,
That's good.
Both groups are characterized by genuine faith and are saved by Christ's atoning work on the cross. I'm going to read that one more time because but for those that grown up in the church or those that are asking a lot of questions, here you go. The faith of the Old Testament saints. We're talking about Moses, Abraham. We're talking about Sarah, Jacob, David. We're talking about Ruth. The list can go on. Look forward to a promised salvation, whereas the faith of those after Christ look back to the fulfillment of their promises. Both groups are characterized by genuine faith and are saved by God's atoning work on the cross. And this verse for me has just been, I've been saying it in my head like almost every day because it's just the news and things in people's lives around here. This is what Paul writes to a church in Corinth, which is, especially with the Olympic season we have going, was an Olympic training part of the region where Olympians went to go train. And he goes this, do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. And I find it fascinating that, again, when you read 1st and 2nd Corinthians, he's always talking about, if we can come back to me really quick, he's always talking about the body, racing, discipline. Why? Because his audience were people that were always about being fit or trying to get the best out of their body so they could compete in the games. And so when he says, hey, don't lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away, because he knows his audience, the older athletes, are going, man, I don't have the muscles I used to have. I used to be faster. So he's making a point. You've all recognized it. You're wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and monetary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So I love this verse. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. We want to increase the faith meter in our life, and we got to fix our eyes on the unseen things. It can't be on the breaking news that's designed to break you. It can't be on the health of everyone, because, man, he just said it, though outwardly we are wasting away. Like, we started out talking about how old Lily is. She's not the little 20-year-old cheerleader Lily anymore. She can't do all those tricks anymore. And Joey isn't the same guy he was when he won a national championship in college, right? You won a national championship, right, Joe?
Yeah,
something like that.
Our team did.
Yeah, well,
I did.
You single-handedly made it happen. Okay, but like Joey always refers to, oh man, I'm so out of shape. I am not as fit as what I once was. Because why? Outwardly, he is wasting away. Lily's wasting away. I'm probably faster than I was, so I'm still hanging on to. I'm joking.
SMH.
I'm joking. Actually, I am faster, but I do have crow's feet, so my skin is wrinkling.
Crow's feet. I was picturing your actual feet. I was like, what does that matter? No, you don't have any wrinkles.
I didn't used to have wrinkles in my eyes. Somebody said, do they bother me that I'm getting wrinkles on my eyes? I was like, no, I earned these. These are all the hours underneath the sun.
Just smiling a lot.
Yeah. If I didn't have this beard, you'd see my laugh lines. Is that what they're called?
Laugh lines, yeah.
Yeah, I got those because why? I laugh all the time. Just do Life with Joey and Lily. You'll laugh off your. But okay, so outwardly we are
Talking
all
about
wasting.
popping moles.
Outwardly we are all wasting away, but yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. And there's the faith piece that I can't see it. That spiritually I'm being renewed, but I can feel it oftentimes that God's doing what He's doing. And so if you want to really jump into a cool read for faith, Google Hebrews chapter 11 and read that whole thing. It is so good. Yeah. Joey, do you have any other promises that you wrote down that like are from Jesus that are in Scripture that you're like, yeah, these are the promises that we should hang on to, or something that comes to your mind?
No, I did not write any promises down, so I don't have any off the top of my head.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Joey.
Yeah.
In Hebrews 11:39, this is where we were talking about the faith of the Old Testament saints. Here we go. This is the author of Hebrew writes, these were all commended for their faith. And what they're writing is they just listed off just some amazing names. Yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. And think about it. All the people that we read in the Old Testament, they know of the Messiah that's coming, yet he never came in their lifetime. But the things they moved in a direction. Abraham moved in a direction because it's this promise. Moses moved in a direction because there's this promise of so many things, but yet they never saw the promise come to fruition. And we today, as followers of Jesus, there's other promises that are still to come, that we are running our race in such a way that we're running after. And we might never see them in our lifetime. There might be another generation that sees them, but we all are running our race in a way of faith is the fuel in our tank to keep moving. So this isn't about getting more faith and just sit there and will it to yourself like, I got to get more faith. This is about what is your confidence. Confidence, what your confidence in God, or when you think about this topic, you're like, God failed me. My loved one I was praying for to get better never got better, so God failed me, so therefore depleted your faith. I would ask you to revisit that and go back to the new definition we have, which is, God, I know you can, but will you? God, I know you can, but will you? And that comes from Luke chapter 5, verse 12. We have it again. Jesus was in one of the towns. A man came along who was covered with leprosy. When he saw Jesus, he fell with his face to the ground and begged him, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. There's how we get the definition. You can make me clean. Jesus reached out his hand, touched the man. I am willing, he said. Be clean. And immediately the leprosy left him. This individual that had leprosy came in and said, will you? I know you can. And because he had faith, he did. Now I want to, last thought to wrap this up, and it's like if somebody's talking about faith, they're always going to bring up the verse that talks about faith like a mustard seed and you can move a mountain. And this is right after the disciples failed miserably in their faith, right? So then Jesus paints this picture. Like, well, you just need this tiny little bitty, itty bitty thing. Tiny little, if you've ever seen a mustard seed, literally it almost looks like a piece of just a flake of dirt on your finger, right? He's saying you just have a teeny bit of faith. You could look at a mountain and tell it to move. I want to, for a second, break that down. And before we break it down, I'm going to throw it to Lily to ask her thoughts on that. What do you think Jesus is trying to teach there when you read that? And it is okay. And we give you permission to go, I have no idea.
No, I think it's, he's trying to make a point and use a descriptor of, I've held a mustard seed. I've had the privilege of teaching the kids at Unlock about this. And when I hold it in my two fingers, even if I'm really trying to get you to be able to see it, you still can't see it. It's that small. And I think he's trying to make a point of it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be visible. While it can grow, I think a little goes a long way. And I'll start us off right there.
Joey, anything to add to that?
No.
Here, I think what I love about reading through the Gospels, you see how Jesus leveraged is everything to teach. He doesn't let a moment go by. He doesn't go, oh man, I've talked all day. Now I'm with these morons, these disciples that I chose. Gosh, I wish I could pick a new team. I'm sure he felt that at times.
Yeah.
But you don't read that. He always leverages the moment to teach them. And here he's leveraging a moment. He's just saying, and like Lily alluded to, boys, you have like on the meter of measuring faith, you're at 0. Like, that's what he simply was telling him. You're at 0. All you needed was like a tiny bit of faith, and you could tell something large in your life to get out of the way. And so he's making a play on words with these mountains, and think about the land that they're in, very mountainous terrain. And he's just looking over there, you see that mountain. If you had the smallest amount of faith in comparing to a mountain and a mustard seed, if you put those side by side, it's like you'd never even see the mustard seed. But that's what Jesus is trying to play here, going, look, you just need a speck of it to see the biggest thing in your life crumble. We're not talking about you guys today online going from none to 100. We're talking about go to 0.1. That's it. In your faith, and that God is going to do what he said he was going to do, that he has plans for you, and that he has the world in his hands, even if it feels like God's let it fall out of his hands. He's still working his plan. And I might question that when I read the nightly news and question it with my mom and things of that nature, but God's still in control. God, can you, I know you can do this, but will you heal my mom? Will you fix the earth? Will you do this with Unlocked Church? And just whatever he does, I will be at peace. Doesn't mean I won't sometimes be frustrated with what's happening. So I hope today we leave you on the topic better than we found you. I hope hopefully we've created some questions.
Yeah.
Right? That's the hopes. We're not looking to have all the answers.
I definitely think there's more to bring, you know?
You guys need to pick up your Bibles and read what we said. Read Hebrews chapter 11. It'll inspire you. And when you read through the stories, and there's a story that jumped out at you when it says Moses did this by faith, then go read the story about Moses. You'll be blown away by that story. It will fuel you. It's like this. I just watched, and I brought it up to you, Joey. Have you seen on Netflix 14 Peaks?
No.
It's about the guy that set the record on climbing the 14 tallest mountains in the world.
I've heard of it. I think Michaela and I were about to watch it.
You need to watch it. It's so good. And he obliterates the record. The record, I think, was something like 7 years or something. It took this guy to climb it or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And this guy climbs it in under 1 year. And it's just this intense deal for this guy to climb it. And reason why I'm telling you this is not because it's like we get somebody's like, is this a commercial? No.
I want to hear about it.
I watch it because it inspires me to do the things that I have planned in my life that are just ridiculous plans, like run 100 miles this summer, get after it again. And I watch this guy go after this record, and it encourages me, inspires me to do those things. But just like scriptures inspire me to take steps of faith because I see what men and women in the Bible did, and it's like, wow, look at what God did in their life, through their life. That's what I want said done with me. I'm not looking to be famous, and I'm not looking to have heaps of friends. I'm looking to have made an impact in the world, that I would be a light in the darkness and point people to Jesus. That's it. And so I look for inspiration as I read through the Old Testament and the New Testament Bible, inspiration to keep going, to live in a mindset of perhaps God will show up. But if he doesn't, well, am I really failing if I take a step of faith that God might do something pretty unique? May you be motivated, encouraged to take a step of faith in your life, to talk to your parents or talk to a loved one or someone about Jesus you've never talked to. Maybe for a long time you've been wanting to copy-paste a link of this to someone to invite them to church. This is it. This is that little pat on the butt. Let's go now. Let's go, Johnny. Let's go. Let's get it done. This is that hopefully increase in the faith meter. So I hope this inspires. I hope you enjoyed it today. Joey, we always give them a chance online here to be able to give resources. Is that because like we want their money? Why do we give a chance for people online church to give resources?
Yeah, because we don't do it because we absolutely need it. Do we use it? Yes, but we do it because God teaches about money in the Bible, and you know, he talks about tithing and giving 10% of your income, and he talks like, I don't know the exact number, but it's a big number, and he talks about it a lot. And so we like to teach the whole Bible, and so we want to just always give that opportunity for everybody to be able to give and be obedient to God and trust God, just kind of like having faith, trusting God and having faith that he can do stuff with those resources. And so you can give multiple ways. You can text the number 77977 to text unlock to the number 77977. That is one way you can give, or if that is not the way you want, you can go to unlockchurch.com, push giving at the top, and kind of follow the steps from there. So very, very easy to give, and we thank you so much to everybody that is giving.
And we do genuinely want to say thank you. Those that call this home, in that you are taking those steps of faith in your relationship with Jesus to study the scriptures, to give and partner with us in what we're doing. We thank you very much for that. We do have digital small groups, which this will be for you, where you can join. We're going to kick those off at some point in February. It'll be 4 or 5 weeks long. It'll be in a go-to meeting. We'll all hang around on a Thursday night, discuss a topic, get to know each other. And then what the fun bit about those digital small groups is then you start seeing names pop in here, and we have faces to put with the names, which we're really excited to kick off in February. So look for that. And then other than that, we will see you next week with another great topic and great discussion. Lily, you want to say goodbye for us today?
Signing off. Just kidding. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday, like Scott said. But throughout the week, if you want to connect with us, you can find us on our social media accounts. I'm Lily Weiner, Scott Mendenhall, Joey Sonnenfeld. You can find us even just by going to YouTube, I'm sure, by finding our, I don't know what I'm saying. Just come hang with us. We'd love to see you throughout the week online.
That's goodbye. That's it. That's how, like.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that felt weird. It felt like a Minnesota goodbye. Because you didn't say goodbye at all.
Well, I think this is a Minnesota goodbye.
It's a good Minnesota goodbye. It's a thing in Minnesota.
Farewell.
Look it up.
It is. It's like we're scared to say goodbye.
We said goodbye like 6 times, but we're still going. This
Goodbye.
is it, guys. Have a great Sunday. We'll see you next week. Bye now.